The thing that I want you to know about everything that we are doing this week is that it has to involve a right triangle. So I want you to put right triangle up at the first part of your notes on page 1. And does anybody know what a right triangle is? That is correct. So it is a triangle. How many sides does a triangle have? Okay, a three-sided figure with one 90-degree or right angle. All of these involve a right triangle, and a right triangle is a three-sided figure that has one 90-degree right angle. It can only have one. It can't have two. It can't have three, but it can only have one. Okay? All right. So the name of this formula that we are going to learn is called the Pythagorean Theorem. How many of you have learned the Pythagorean Theorem before? You've heard of it, learned it? Okay. Again, you have to have a right triangle with this. And it says the Pythagorean Theorem relates the lengths of the hypotenuse and the legs of a right triangle. Okay? So we're actually going to jump down to the picture. So we have to have a right angle. The right angle here, hopefully you can tell, is the one that looks like an L. So this is 90 degrees. That's your right angle. No, I didn't put anything in there yet. I skipped down to the picture. We'll come back to the formula in a minute. Excuse me. The side always across from the right angle is the longest side, which in this case is called the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. The hypotenuse. That is the longest side of your right triangle. And usually we label that side as C. Hypotenuse is C. Okay? The other two sides make up an L shape. Okay? And we call those the legs. So the legs are always going to make an L shape, Jordan. That L shape could be, not upright, could be backwards, could be on its side, could be upside down, but it's still always going to look like an L. And that right angle is always where those two legs meet together, okay? Usually we call the legs length A and length B, all right? So how these relate is this following formula, Pythagorean Theorem. And I'm going to read it. It is going to sound over the top. It's going to sound crazy, but it says, in a right triangle, the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs is equal to the square of the length of the hypotenuse. It's kind of what the scarecrow says in The Wizard of Oz after he gets a brain. I don't know if you remember that, but it is this. So A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared, where A and B are your legs and C is the hypotenuse. A and B are your legs. And it does not matter which leg is A and which leg is B. Does not matter at all, as long as you're not talking about the hypotenuse, the longest side C. So let's go down to our first problem. Now listen to me carefully. I want you for this whole week and probably the next chapter also, we are dealing with a lot of formulas. I want you to write the formula first. So Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Side A is 4.2. Side B, 5.7. You see in between those two legs is our right angle, and side opposite of that is C. So now we substitute in and we say 4.2, that quantity squared, plus 5.7, that quantity squared, equals C squared. You also are going to need to have a calculator, okay? Because you're going to have to take, at least for today, the squares of numbers. All right, so on your yellow calculators, if you happen to have a yellow calculator, that x squared is just to the left of the 7 button. So take 4.2 and click on the x squared plus 5.7. Select x squared, hit enter, and what do you get for an answer? 50.13. So c squared is equal to 50.13. Now, it says round your answer to the nearest tenths place. The tenths place is 1 decimal place. If that's where you round it to, you have to do one more place to the right. But the tenths place is 1. So you underline 1 decimal place, you look to the right. If it's 5 or more, then this underlined number goes up. If it's 4 or less, which in this case it's a 3, you're going to cross it off and you keep it. So c squared, oh, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. So sorry. Back up. So c squared is 50.13. I do not want c squared. I want c. So I need to take the square root. The square root. So c is equal to, so that 50.13, now you have to do second, and x squared, I think, gives you the square root. You have to retype in 50.13, and then you should get 7.08. You take, you hit the second function, and you hit the square root button, x squared, which gives you the square root button above it, right? And that should give you, you have to retype in 50.13, and that's going to give you 7.08. Now we round. You round at the very end. So if that is the tenths place, look next door, 5 or more. Yes. So that means this number has to go up 1. So C is 7.1 centimeters. Questions on that? So when we come back, we will do much more with this. And let's look at number 2. Find the measure of side C. So for side C, across from the right angle That's your hypotenuse. I want you, when you work on your homework, start with the formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Again, it does not matter what you put for A and B as long as they make up the legs. So here in blue are the legs. So I'm going to say A is equal to 4. B is equal to 6. That means 4 squared plus 6 squared equals C squared. Nice. It looks kind of fun. Nice. So 4 squared is 16 and 6 squared is 36. That together is going to be 52. Again, you can do that on your calculator. 4 squared plus 6 squared equals C squared. But if you look, we are trying to find the value of C. So we need to take the square root and take the square root of 52. When you do the square root, remember that is the second function and x squared, and then you would put 52 down for that answer. When you do that and select enter, what do we get for the square root of 52? Use your calculators, guys. Come on. 213? No, I think that's a little high. The square root of 52. 7.2 might work. Second square root 52. I get 2 times the square root of 13, but then you go for these 2 little arrows, which gives you the decimal. 7.21. 7.21. We need to go to the 10th place. So C is 7.21. The 10th place is 1 decimal place over. Look to the right, 5 or more. No, so that gets canceled out. So C is equal to 7.2. So yes, you pretty much have to show all of this work. Okay? Right there. Now, they are not always going to ask us just for the C value, the hypotenuse. Let's take a look at number 1 down below. Okay? Notice, again, if you draw or trace over the 2 sides which make the L, and again, it can be a sideways L, a backwards L, any of those L's, those are your legs. So that is your A value, this is your B value. Now you could switch it up, but here is your C value. So start with the formula, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Your A value is x squared plus your B value is 15 squared equals C value, which is 21 squared. All right. X squared is going to stay as x squared. What is 15 squared? That is correct. 225 and equals 21 squared is 421? 421? Okay. All right, we need to solve for 41. Okay. 441. Thank you. I need to get x squared by itself. So you are subtracting 225 from both sides. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And you are going to get x squared is 216. I don't believe that's a perfect square. So we have to take the square root of both of those. I'm going to do this over here. So the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 216, who's got that? 14.69. We are rounding to the tenths place. The tenths place is the first digit. And if we looked to the right, you always have to look to the right. If it's 5 or more, it is going to go up. It is a 9, so this 6 is going to go up. So x is equal to 14.7. Now, check and make sure, because if this is 14.7, it has to be smaller than your hypotenuse. The hypotenuse, remember, is the longest side. So make sure that your two legs are both smaller than that third side. Okay? Got to make sure of that. Please. Let's copy this down. All right, let's do number 2. Find the value of x for the following right triangle. Again, it always has to be a right triangle. Okay? So here is the right angle. There's my hypotenuse across. That's the C. I can say A is equal to this, B is equal to this, and start with the formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A is equal to 9. 9 squared plus B is x, because we don't know what that is. We're going to have to figure that out. And C is 14 squared. 9 squared is how much? 81. 14 squared, 196. Check my math on that. I think that's right. I need to get x squared by itself. How do I get x squared by itself? Hey, come on. How do I get x squared by itself? Subtract 81, right? Subtract 81. 81 cancels out. When you subtract, you get 115. And that is equal to x squared. I do not want x squared. I just need x. So when you take the square root, x is equal to, well, give me 2. 10.72. Okay, good. Thank you. 10.72. Again, if we round to the tenths place, the tenths place is 1 digit to the right. You look 1 place to the right of that. 5 or more? No. So you cross that out. X is equal to 10.7. Now that's a length. Put that over here. As long as this is less than your hypotenuse, you should be good. Questions on that problem? All right. We got one more here. So, trace in your L's. I really think that is helpful. When you trace the L around that, that tells you those are your legs. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Which value is my C? 15. Yes, the hypotenuse is always across. See if you can finish this problem and see what answer you get for x. Yeah. It does not matter. As long as you have the 2 legs as A and B, it does not matter which one is which. Is it the same answer? Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you substitute and say A is 9 and B is x, or if you say A is x and B is 9, X will be the same.
I just need to
Focus.
no,
Put your phone away.
no,
Try to do the work.
trying to do something.
All the above. Okay. Keep the phone away. Let's try to work on this. Guys, come on. Keep the phones away. You're supposed to be working on this on your own. All right. So I am going to say A is equal to 9. If you did it otherwise, that's okay. It'll work out. So I'm going to say 9 squared plus, I'm going to say B is equal to X squared equals 15 squared. 9 squared is, at first I thought, is that the same exact problem? 81 plus X squared equals 15 squared, which is 225. If you want to get X squared by itself, you subtract 81. X squared is equal to 144. That is a perfect square because when you take the square root, X is equal to how much? 12. Double check because X is a leg. Is 12 your leg less than the hypotenuse, which is 15? And yes, it is. So that makes sense. How many had X equals 12? Guys, are we actually trying the problems? You've got to try the problems. All right, let's turn the page. Next, we have kind of a true statements, and we have a couple of word problems. So number 3, I like this problem. It's kind of like see what you know. Says select all true statements about a right triangle. Letter A, you know a triangle is right because it has a box in the corner. Is that true or false? That is true. If it has this right angle box in the corner, then that is a right triangle. Okay, so that one's true. Letter B, A and C in this picture to the right are the legs of the triangle. Is that true or false? That is false. Yes, C here is the hypotenuse. So this is false. I'm going to put a line through that. Or you can just put an X through the B, whichever. Letter C, the hypotenuse is always, and be careful of those words, never and always. The hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. Is that true or false? That is true. There, the always is not a problem. Letter D, think about this before you answer. All angles add to make 90 degrees. All angles add to make 190 degrees. That is false. What do all the angles add up to? Do you remember? That is correct. 180 degrees is what they add up to. Letter E, B and C, B, which is this length, and C, the hypotenuse, can be equal measures. True or false? That is false. Yes, the hypotenuse has to be longer. Hypotenuse is longer. It is the longest side. Letter F. This one we haven't talked about, but see what you think. The length of letter A and B could be equal. measures. A and B could be equal. What do you think? That is true. Yes, they could be the same. Don't just look at the picture. They could be the same. Letter G, you can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the side measures for all triangles. You can use Pythagorean theorem to find the side measures for all triangles. Is that true or false? That is false. It has to be a right triangle. Pythagorean theorem only works for a right triangle. Okay? All right. Let us go ahead with number 4. So this is a word problem. A ladder is placed 7 feet away from a house on a wall that is 24 feet tall. Find the height of the ladder. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. So if you look, you should see a right triangle here. Here's the length from the house to the ladder. That is 7 feet. Here is the length of the house up to where the ladder goes. That's 24 feet. I have traced over those with L, so both of these are legs. Start with your formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So which one of those variables am I looking to find? A, B, or C? C. C is the hypotenuse across from the longest, or it is the longest side. It helps if I spell it correctly. So A, I'm going to say A is 24. It doesn't really matter which one you make A and which one you make B. B is 7 squared equals C squared. 24 squared. Let's see. 25 squared is 625. What is it? 576. That sounds right. Plus 7 squared is 49. And if you add those two together, you get 625. That is equal to C squared, but I don't want C squared. So you take the square root, The letter C by itself, the length of that ladder is the square root of 625, which is equal to 25. Now, this is in feet, so that means C is 25 feet. These are always lengths. So if they give you a length, you should give the answer as a length. Any questions about that problem? So that one we did not need to round because it was a whole number. Let's look at number 5. A summer camp is building a new zip line course. The designer of the course wants the zip line to start at a platform 450 meters above the ground and end 775 meters away from the base of the platform. How long must the zip line be to meet these specifications? All right, again, trace over the lines that make up your leg. So this is a leg, this is a leg. Here's your hypotenuse, and that is the C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Your A value, pick one of them, 450 squared plus 775 squared equals C squared. These are really big numbers. I don't know. 450 squared, who's got that answer? What is it? 202,500 plus 775 squared. 6 what? 600,000. 635. Like that? 25. Okay, that's equal to c squared. Now we add these two together. Yeek. 25 at the end. There's 11. There's 308. Is that right? Check my math. That's equal to c squared, but we don't want c squared, so we take the square root. And c is equal to, I have no idea, 896.17. Okay. If we round to the 10th place, that is one place. To round, I actually need to look to the right. If it is 5 or more, which it is, this needs to go up. So C, the length of this zip line is 896.2 meters. 896.2 meters. And that is longer than the other two legs, so that at least makes sense that it is longer. Questions about Pythagorean theorem? Okay.